One of the patterns I've seen over and over again in property management is the difference between a reactive management response and proactive management. Most operational problems in real estate don't appear overnight. They slowly grow and develop when little issues aren't addressed, and then they become urgent. When a management company becomes reactive, all of those small problems compound into much larger ones. And that's why the strength of a property management company's operations and systems is going to really showcase in terms of how they're proactive in nature versus how they react to incoming requests. So what does reactive management actually look like in the real world? There's countless examples of this. On the maintenance side, when you only handle maintenance when something breaks, that's just reacting to what comes in. There may be situations where a budget is discussed, but only after you've already spent all the money. Sometimes a board receives updates only after a problem escalates, as opposed to telling the association exactly what happened when it happened. Countless times, managers are drawn into email chains and they only respond to the most recent email but forget everything else in the previous days. And when that happens, that response is really felt and compounded over time. That means there's no long-term operational planning, there's no check-ins with clients to see how you're feeling about the services. You're always responding to the newest and latest requests, regardless of how important that request is and the impact of that task relative to the importance of taking action on it. In reactive environments, your day is driven by whatever problem appears next, as opposed to prioritizing what's most critical. Those reactive management companies will always feel busy, but oftentimes you're gonna feel no productivity and you're gonna feel disorganized. So why do so many problems end up being operationally reactive? And once again, there's a lot of reasons behind what could be happening here. First and foremost, great organizations have incredible systems. This is overused, but the reality is people need guidance so that they can follow a system and structure so that they know how their day-to-day cadence should be handled. Instead of reacting to the phone calls that come in, instead of handling all the documentation, instead of handling a low priority maintenance item, all of these are areas where systems need to be created so that you're constantly not being sucked into the newest task that arrives. And when it comes to a lot of organizations, they don't have systems that are in process. They don't have the proper training for their personnel so that they can prioritize what's most important right now and adjust as needed. A lot of times you have managers that are overloaded, taking on too many bits and pieces of the business as opposed to focusing on more of their strategic nature, high-level customer service, and more of that orchestrator role that they should step in. On the flip side, maintenance. We're really big on making sure that preventative maintenance plans are established so that you're really planning out into the future as opposed to reacting to that newest item that broke that day. And then within all of this structured communication is a web. It's the glue that holds everything together. And when a company is unable to communicate effectively internally as well as to the stakeholders, the boards, that's where a lot of slippage happens. So most reactive environments don't happen because people don't care. They really happen because the management structure isn't set and it's actually quite weak. And this happens time and time again. So what does a proactive management company actually look like? These are going to be organizations like ours that implement preventative maintenance programs. They stop the problem before it grows into a large one. They have planned capital projects in place, realizing that the weather is relentless. It's going to wear down on your property at some point. So how do you make sure you're saving money to prepare for the future? It's understanding what your building operates. Like I always say, it's knowing where the dead bodies are. It's where have you found weaknesses within your particular building to make sure that everybody's aware of where those struggle points are so that it can either be fixed in the long run or that emergency situations are minimized and the damage isn't as significant. Great proactive management firms are incredible with communication. That means they're updating you on what's to come. They've set up a plan as to when the next meeting is. They have a clear outline in terms of what's going to be discussed in the cadence that's important so that we can step into that leadership role since we're the ones working through consistent operational management endeavors daily. We are the ones that are constantly working with the vendors, have a pulse with what's going on with the residents, the maintenance calls. and clearly outlining what should be talked about based on our expertise gives guidance to our owners and investors as well as our board members. And then of course, clear documentation. In this industry, documentation is essential. It's really to help reduce risk and liability. Other aspects of incredible management that are proactive, such as ours, is we plan to budget ahead. Once again, this helps you save money in the short term so that you're aware of the fact that costs do go up and there are capital projects that loom down the pipeline. The heating systems, the water systems, the roof and exterior, the common walkways, the electrical, the plumbing, all of these are items that need forecasts in terms of budgetary awareness. This also allows you to understand the health of the financials, like how is all the collections going in terms of dues or rental income, making sure cash flow positive so that you can save enough money, usually 15 to 20% on a monthly basis for that future project allocation. And then there's going to be the proactive operations. That means we actually have centralized data tracking so that everybody can see all the text messages that come through. Everybody has access to view tasks that are created. That means our managers are able to oversee and help our staff reprioritize as needed to make adjustments. So when it comes to our style being a proactive management, what this really does is it replaces the idea of urgency with a predictable structure. Best-in-class management is already planning out what the future looks like with a consistent schedule versus a lot of operators are just reacting to whatever hits their desk first and whatever that emergency is next. So, as an investor and an operator, I've learned that the way to properly manage the day-to-day activities of asset management really comes down to systems, people, and then proactivity. And that is going to be an indication of the performance of your asset in the long run. Once again, when you have proactive management, that means your property values can be protected. When you have proactive management, that's going to protect the value of your property. It's going to reduce the stress of your team, of the residents, of the board and owners, and it's going to create a very stable operating environment. Strong property management isn't just about how fast somebody reacts to the problems. It's defined by how well the operation helps prevent those properties. It's defined by how well those operations prevent problems from happening in the first place. That's the difference between reacting to issues and truly controlling and operating an asset to perform at its best and creating a place where your community loves where they live.